Okay, welcome to another episode of Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday. Taihenjutsu Miller here from Warrior Concepts in East Central Pennsylvania, unless I'm doing a seminar somewhere. Anyway, this week we are taking a look at Tobijutsu, right? Tobijutsu, Tobiru, right? To leap, leaping, that kind of thing. Jutsu, skills, art, all that. It's actually a subset of the ninja's taihenjutsu, body changing art. People call it body movement, that kind of thing, but it's body changing art and or body changing skills, hen to change. So what we're going to be taking a look at is using it as a combat kind of thing. Often a problem that catches a lot of students is where we look at the breakdown of different skill sets, right? So we can be naming, taijutsu. So under taijutsu, we have daken taijutsu, jitaijutsu, taihenjutsu. So daken taijutsu, striking skills, generally speaking, right? Jitaijutsu, locks, holds, restraints, those kind of things. And then taihenjutsu, body changing, walking, running, climbing, leaping, rolling, break falls, all that kind of stuff, right? So, but they can get caught up in the overtness, I guess, of things, right? So, if we look at striking and grappling and those kind of things, we can see that that's a combat aspect. That's easy. That's the omote, the obvious of things. But when it comes to things like leaping or rolling or even kamae, right? Even our combat postures, I know the word can be added to it, but more often than not, kind of falls in a gray area, right? But upper intermediate and advanced level students should be taking a look at all of these things as weapons, as attacks. Okay? If I take up kamae, even if it's one of these longer range kind of things, it's an attack, right? It's a weapon. And if we can see that, then everything changes, right? We don't just see it as this, oh shit, oh my God, cover, don't hit me kind of position. And if we are using it that way, either the situation is in such an overwhelm that that emotions are leading, but even in that context, the kamae by default are still attacking, right? So again, we tend to think about the state we're in, but when we think about kamae, and again, I'll get to leaping here in a minute, but I'm just trying to make a point that it's very shape. It's the way it's kind of set up, right? It starts attacking the attackers or the assailants, the opponents' perceptions about what you're doing, what's possible. If it attacks their perceptions, then it's attacking and controlling, right? How they think about things, how they can get in, what's possible, right? What kind of targets, right? With this long-range Ichimonji or Seigan, for most attackers that I've ever, not really attackers, like sparring partners from other systems and whatnot, that are just not familiar with these things. And this is where people get caught up between that idea of a kamae and the idea of a stance, right? Because if we see the same, okay, a couple of episodes back, if you're on YouTube, just go to the live tab. You're probably already there watching this as a recording if you're already not live. But a couple of episodes back, I did this idea between kamae and dachi. And if we're focused on dachi, we're going to miss a lot, right? But it's controlling how they're doing things, right? But most people that I've sparred with or shared notes with, right, outside of this lineage, first thing they say when something like this is taken up is, well, that's stupid. I can grab your hand or your arm, or I can hit it, or I can sweep your leg, or it looks like that, doesn't it? Okay. And that's important for those of us who might just be blindly going along because we've never had any fight experience. It doesn't matter what we think is going on, right? What matters is what they think is going on. And so if we're going to be more enlightened about things and use things from a wisdom-based, strategic, tactical kind of standpoint, we have to meet them. We have to speak their listen, so to speak, right? So we have to understand what it is that they're looking at. One, that'll change your training and make you look at things from a different perspective and be prepared for those things. And two, later on, when we're controlling and manipulating overtly, then you're going to pick and choose Kamae based on his fight system, so that you know that that's what he'll go after, right? So we're already preloaded, ready to go to Hicho, ready to, right? So anyway, we're going to take a look at the combat aspects of leaping, and see where this will go. So we're going to take a look at just introduction to leaping for those of you who are brand new to everything. I want to take a look at a couple of perspectives, right? Not just for leaping, but combat in general. Okay, 3 combat perspectives. We're going to focus on this one, and then we're going to look at 3 perspectives from there, and then we're going to let this phase into things that the kata already show, or lineage skill sets already present as training areas and whatnot. And so we'll break all these things down to make sure that you guys can see the breaks between these. I've got 3 sets of 3. Okay? Anybody who's been around long enough knows that I heavily use the Gyoko to use 3-in-1, 1-in-3 principle. Okay? And if you don't know what that is, I did a Whiteboard Wednesday on that as well. So anyway, all right. Let's before we jump into this, let's take a look at one more problem from the student's perspective. Okay, for many, right, students, just practitioners in general, right, for many of them, certain techniques and skills are seen as impractical or unnecessary for real-world self-defense, because they're gauging what we're doing based on the way people fight today, right? But if you understand history, you can, even in Japan, you can see this huge development where everything went from uber profiled to nose, and that might look natural and it might look normal if we didn't also run a parallel research on the use and eventual dropping or popularity of carrying, use, and whatnot of weapons. Right? So things tend to change. However, there's also an assumption that if we're doing this, it's mano a mano and no weapons are involved. That's fine as long as we're fighting like 2 bulls that, in the high school that bumped into each other and they're going to do something out in the parking lot after school, or the 2 guys fighting over the girl in the bar on Saturday night. But from my experience as a former federal cop and a counterterrorist guy in what was then West Germany, things can start out that way, and next thing you know, the guy who started things is starting to lose, and a knife comes out, or a gun comes out, or whatever, right? So, or it can go weapon, and then the person is disarmed, and they're not done. So now it becomes this, or it's this, and maybe a weapon doesn't come out, but it gets a little challenging. Next thing you know, somebody grabs a beer bottle or a hammer or whatever. Same thing with grabbing, right? Punching, kicking, all that kind of stuff can just very quickly give way to grab. All these things are possible, right? In fact, Hatsumi Sensei, my teacher, there's a quote circulating on the internet. Everybody likes to share these things and post them, right? But I'm not sure how many of those people who do that go past the cool quote, right? And that quote is, anything is possible in a fight. Anything's possible in an attack scenario. So we have to be able to use weapons. Okay? It's not about the weapon. It's about the advantage that the production of a weapon or that kind of thing does, right? Okay. In today's world, they call them force amplifiers, force magnifiers, whatever. It's all very clinically sanitary and whatnot, when the reality is that one of the reasons, we learn all this stuff, but we don't want to get involved in it because it's messy, just like life, right? So anyway, but they see them as impractical or unnecessary. And while they look cool in movies or demonstrations or whatever, the belief is these things are just not something you would do in a real fight or a real self-defense situation. Okay, Worse yet, many students, right? They select or prioritize skills based more on personal preference or comfort level, right? Often writing off those things that they're choosing to do or not do based on more of an I like that one or I don't like to do that, right? Than anything else. Okay, when the reality is that right, it it doesn't matter if you like it or dislike it. What matters is the more tools and options we have in a given situation, the more broken things we can fix. Okay, and again, if we can come at self-defense or this personal combat kind of thing from the perspective of uh, having to create a solution to a given problem, right? It's problem solving 101, 404, whatever, right? So this kind of thinking, though, I like it, I don't like it, reminds me of a conversation I had way back with my uncle Frank. Really good guy. He was a really good role model in my life. I learned, humor from this guy and everything. Uh, but he was the guy that smoked unfiltered cigarettes and did whatever he wanted. And I remember coming back from Germany, right? What was then West Germany, during leave to visit family, and I went to visit, and we got talking about, my experience in Germany. I mean, in Germany on the autobahn, no speed limit, okay? But we also had a saying that people generally only had one accident on the autobahn. There was a reason for that, okay? Because of the the unspecified speed limit, there's more inertia running into immovable objects, and we're squishy. Okay. But anyway, I had this conversation, and time and time again, I mean, unless there was, again, one of these Autobahn things where the car literally just freaking exploded around the person. I don't mean exploded like boom. I mean like it was made of fiberglass and everything just broke away. Uh, More often than not, right? I pulled up on an accident one time with a brand new rookie, and I'm like, first thing I thought was, oh, shit, dude, we're working late today because we're going to do not only the traffic accident report, but we're going to have to do the death report and all that because we pulled up and this car had dropped into a culvert and literally flipped over on its roof, and just wow, right? And so there were these two soldiers that were walking up to us. And I just thought they were witnesses, right? Perfectly fine, right? So I start taking their statements, and I said, so, what are the people like inside the car? And one of the guys goes, no, we were inside the car. We were driving. Kind of got caught up in we're in Germany and no speed limit, and then we lost control. And like, there's no way in hell you were in that car. Yeah, right? Because of the seatbelts. Anyway, I'm sharing this story. And he says, well, I know, but, it kind of chafes right here and it's really uncomfortable. I said, you know what's really uncomfortable? Because I've seen these too, right? When that car comes to a sudden stop and the person hits that steering wheel and one of two things happens. Their body slides up and over the steering wheel and their head goes through the windshield. Or they hit that steering wheel, the wheel itself breaks away, and in the next microsecond, their chest is being impaled by that column. Right? That never changed how he made decisions, but people make decisions about the comfort level of techniques and skills based on it's uncomfortable, so I don't like it. Okay? I don't like dropping my knees that far and sinking. Everybody fights up here, man. Why are we doing this? Stability, the possibility of being on a loose or slippery surface, loose stone, wet grass, whatever, right? We can't think that the environment we're going to be defending ourselves in or saving somebody else's life in is going to be the same as we train in. Nice and open, no trip obstacles, nothing like that, right? So we prepare for the worst. Yeah, I know, but it makes my legs hurt, man. I said, I know, man. You know when your legs will stop hurting? When they're strong enough to carry your body around. Right? But because of the way you move, your body kind of cheats so that it doesn't have to do the work. Okay? The human body is wired to naturally come to rest. And at some point in time, we will do that for the last time. Okay? Or Juden Taiso, stretching and the physical exercise and all that. I know, looks like I don't do it, but problem that a lot of people have is they can't see beyond the skin and the shape to see what else is going on in there. Okay, so anyway, the Juden Taiso and all that is designed to counter that so that we can stay vibrant and ready to go, right? So anyway, so the main point of this is when you opt out of a skill, right? We also remove it as an option in those times where it would, could, might, whatever, be the perfect answer, okay, and give us that edge. Again, people tend to train based on the unspoken, it could be conscious, it could be unconscious belief that shit's like it is in a sports ring, where it's a fair fight. Everything has been designed so it can be a fair fight. Attackers don't, this is a predator-prey situation, right? Nobody's attacking because they think it's a fair fight. Nobody's attacking because they think you can kick their ass. We're always starting out as a negative, right? And we need to get to zero just to neutralize their advantage before we can do things. So therein lies science, okay? But if we keep filtering things and we don't have a guide who can help drop the filters, then the law of karma, right? What's that old saying, right? You're free to choose. You're just not free from the consequences of your choices. So anyway, all right. And before we dive into all this stuff, don't forget, like, share. You know how this stuff works. It helps train the algorithms, the platform robots, right? As to the types of people who like this stuff and find it valuable and whatnot. So they'll share it to more people like us, and then that'll help them. And then if you're on YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell kind of thing, so that you get notified of regular things. Or I've seen those things glitch. You can run over to the website at onlineninjaacademy.com/Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday. Put a dash in between each word, Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday, and just get on the early notification mailing list. That way you don't end up finding about this last minute. Okay. Okay. So let's jump into this. So before we take a look at the combat aspects of leaping, right? Let's look at things from the beginner's format, the beginner's view, from a strictly taihenjutsu format. Let's write this word in here: taihenjutsu. Okay? Again, jutsu can be art, but it can also be skills, methods, those kind of things, right? Tai, it's same Tai from taijutsu, right? Body. Hen, right? Like Ihan, Taihen. It means to change, right? So you'll find this in our stealth or disguise and impersonation skills and whatnot, because of the adaptation you're doing with the body. You're being able to shift it into a position that serves you in that moment, right? So Taihen, again, includes rolling and all that kind of stuff, but today we're taking a look at leaping, right? Tobijutsu, right? Tobi, right? So I don't have enough room now to handle this stuff, so we'll get rid of this. Okay, so let's take a quick walk down Tobi Lane, so to speak, right? So we have Shiho Tenchi Tobi. You can call it Roppo Tobi. I don't care. Roppo, 6 ways, 6 methods. There's a little secret hidden in that. But the way I received it and the way I've seen it most often is Shiho Tenchi Tobi. Tobi, leaping, right? Shiho, 4 methods, 4 ways. In this case, Ho means direction, right? Tenchi, heaven and earth. So we're looking at 4 directions as far as the cardinal directions, and then leaping to heaven, leaping to earth. So up and down leaping. If you're in our program, going through Mod 1, we often call Chitobi a bunny drop, right? Just as a quick expedient while somebody's trying to learn the Japanese, right? So, so again, 4 directional, up and down, but that's 6, right? So you could call it Roppo Tobi. Roppo is a contraction of Roku, 6, and whole, right? Bo, right? So what do we have, right? So we have forward, right? We have back. I know I only have 5 written, right? Right? Left and right side leaps, right? And the assumption here is that your chest is either forward or 30, 45-degree angle, that kind of thing, okay? Because we're leaping to these directions. And there's 2 ways to look at this. Sometimes my students get confused when we're looking at rolling, and there's this happo kaiten, right? 8-directional rolling. And so what I'll see is people will always roll, same shoulder, and what they'll do is they'll just change their body, or they'll turn around, whatever, right? And so technically they're rolling in 8 directions, but they're only doing 1 roll. They're doing a shoulder roll, right? But if the other way to look at this, which is where this starts, is our body's in a given position. Can we leap forward, back, and to either side from here, straight up and straight down? Okay, it's kind of like 4-directional kicking with 1 leg, without moving, without steering. Right? I can kick somebody to the side, but if I'm dealing with somebody in front of me and we're on each other and his friend moves in, I need to be able to kick this guy without turning because I can't. Okay, it's a very different skill set than the way it gets translated if folks have nobody to guide them. Right? So forward, back, left and right side, and then we have upward and we have downward. Right? But got this big old arrow. Okay? So we get these and we get really good at them. Okay? There's also an intermediate stage in here where there's always the possibility, right? That we either put too much energy into things, and so when we land, there's more inertia going on, or when we leap and we land, the ground surface is unstable, right? Or something hangs up based on the sole of my shoe and the ground surface or whatever, right? So in between this and the next thing I'm going to tell you is I need to be able to leap to a roll. In our mod 3, where leaping is introduced, they did rolling in mod 2. They did rolling in mod 2 to get ready for 2 things. 1, to integrate the rolling into the leaping, moving forward, and because in mod 3 we also introduce a shit ton of throws. So since rolling is our primary escape method, if they're kind of okay or sucky or I luck out for things, but we'll take a look at how leaping can be used in those kind of things as well. Okay, so toward the middle end of mod 3, moving on, they'll be leaping, and as their feet touch down, they just keep bending their knees all the way down into a roll. So it's not leap, stop, then roll. It's leap, roll. Later on, Shodan to Nidan, we're going to flip that. Okay? We're going to go rolling, and as we come out of the roll, we're going to leap. Okay? So not come out of the roll and then leap. Come out of the roll leaping. Okay? Coming out of the roll punching. Coming out of the roll kicking. Because they might be there waiting for us. Or there might be an obstacle in the way that I suddenly have to go over. Otherwise, it's a trip hazard. Okay? So again, scenario-based, not just collecting skills so I can get a new belt. Okay. So anyway, so what does that all lead to? Okay. Well, if we have this, there's something else we need to consider, right? If I'm in a fight situation, right, and whatever's going on, okay. So we always assume, whether we're rolling, leaping, or whatever, that we're doing that to escape and to save ourselves. So we're leaping away from something coming where we were. And so we're going to leap away from that. Right? Do people always do that? I can't speak for anybody else but my students. Okay? But we have this, and then we have up and we have down. Yeah, bird's eye view. Okay, so then we have up and we have down. Okay? But what about like all this? What the hell, dude? I'm only going to jump forward. I'm only going to jump left, right. What if the danger is coming this way? What if it's, okay? So we get good at this, and we get good at controlling our body so that when we're leaping, we can change shape or change direction in the air or leave this spot and leap into whatever direction I need to go. Okay. So all of this, just like Happo Kaiten, normally gets translated as 8-directional rolling. But Happo is a contraction, Hachiho, 8 methods, 8 directions. I get it. But Happo also means infinite. Anytime you add ho to the end of a number, the over is it's a direction or a method. Right? You're counting things or you're describing things, right? But the contraction becomes po, right? And so now what you have is infinite. So Happo Kaiten is infinite directional rolling, right? We start people off in mod 3 with Shihogiri, 4-directional kicking with any given leg. But you need to be able to kick in, what, 362 degrees with one leg? Not the same time. But you can, I know, it's 365, right? I'm sorry, 360. So you're kicking in 357, give or take, degrees. Why not 360? Because if you kick through your own base leg and you break that, well, then shit's over, right? So Shiho Tenchi Tobi or Roppo Tobi, we use Roppo Tobi when we're talking about this idea. I'm going to use the word Happo because Happo points to infinite. It's like taking a number 8 and laying it on its side. And now we have the infinite symbol, right? Happo Tobi. Right? Any direction that's necessary in one move. Okay. All right. So now we have those out of the way. Right. See this arrow right here? Right. Everything comes from this. Everything else comes from this. Okay. So let's jump over into these 3 combat perspectives. Okay. What we're going to take a look at is ukemi. What I mean is, what might I need leaping for? What could I use leaping for? Okay, what's different scenarios, but we're just going to keep it down to 3, right? So ukemi, right? I just need to move my body. It's a receiving body, okay? So somebody might be landing a shot, and if I can leap back with it instead of step, because the reality is you can leap someplace faster as long as you don't bound. We're not gazelle, right? If it's a lateral shift, you can do that faster, just like your body covers more ground faster when you're rolling than it does when you're walking and even running, right? So ukemi can be used to transition to a spot very, very quickly, okay? Ukemi, right? And then we have defending, okay? Defending, right? Again, there's that punch coming in and I'm shifting with it, or he's coming in really, really quickly with this shot, and I just very quickly move into this other position. Okay? And again, it's not bounding, right? It's like somebody's grabbing you by the belt and yanking, and you're moving along with that. Just pull your gut in and go. Okay? Yeah, this gut goes in. Anyway, here and then attacking. Okay? Remember what I said? All these things that look like leaping. How's that any different than what guys do in parkour? Rolling. How's that any different than people who are doing gymnastics? To a lot of people in this art, there's no difference. Okay? But the true difference between parkour, gymnastics, that kind of thing, is that in those arts, you determine your own timing. You determine the thing you're jumping to. You've got control for all this stuff. I know they work adaptation, okay? And recovering, and they do, ukemi and stuff like that, right? But in a combat art, this stuff is always in context with the attacker leading. They're leading the dance. So you have to do these things at their time. You have to do these things in the direction that they're sending you. If you don't, you break. Okay? And a break fall, well, it requires a fall to be a break fall. The word is break fall, not fall and break. Okay? So we've got ukemi, defending, and attacking. So we're spending a lot of time today on the attack idea. And I've covered these things in other lessons, but let's do it from here, okay? So with attacking, we've got a couple of different ways that we can look at this, but I normally break this down into every time you're attacking, there are 3 phases. Okay, 3 phases. When you're moving in to deliver something, 3 phases. Okay, so and these are wrapped up for those of you who are in the Bujinkan or any of the cons, and you understand the Sanshin. Okay, from the Kyonapo. I'm sorry, from the Gyokoryu. The Sanshin is all about penetration. It's all about attacking. How do I deliver this particular strike without him being able to defend against it, escape from it, counter it, those kind of things. Okay, so there are 3 phases, right? Those 3 phases are entering. In Japanese, that's iri or iru, right? Iri, right? Like shinobi iri, right? Stealth entering, right? Entering into territory, buildings, whatever, right? But entering, okay? Second phase is catching, okay? So catching, seizing, dori, also connected to kuzushi. Bless you. Kuzushi, balance break, okay? We do something that either startles him where he freezes and it gives us that opening, or we break his balance and he's fighting gravity and inertia and anything but me, and I've got free run of the house, so to speak, and I can deliver my shot. Because again, in both of those, he's in conditions where he can't block or whatever. Again, if we keep thinking about the way everybody else does things, which ultimately is based on Western boxing and pugilism and whatnot, which came from England and all those kind of things, right? Even in martial arts like Taekwondo and karate and whatnot, right? You'll often see that there's this Japanese name or Korean name to this thing, or it'll just be straight out like Taekwondo, right? And then you'll see a different version that's American Taekwondo, right? Or you have, again, karate, American karate. What the fuck? Okay? It's not just because, well, we're going to call it that because we're Americans and whatever. Okay? Because you've got people in the UK and all that doing this particular form. And whenever they tack that on, what they've done is changed all of the kata or the kamai or the dachi, the stances and whatnot, and the fight postures, from going from being very low in this kind of position where, see, somebody's running through their own filter. That's not the way fights happen. So what they do is they go from all of this and they bring it up to where they're now bouncing around and they've got these hands in this boxer position because they've created a hybrid. Okay. So as my Southern female friends like to say, that sounds really nice and it sounds like, it's a compliment. It really isn't when they say, bless their hearts. Okay. Now, does that mean these people can't fight? No. What I believe is because of the change they've made, they can fight other people that fight like that. And it'll be, they'll have their advantage because of all their other moves. But it's when the situation shifts outside that comfort zone. Because remember, all of our stuff came from Sengoku Jidai Warring States period and before, when everybody carried weapons, and your kamae, your techniques, your tai sabaki, your footwork, all that kind of stuff had to be based, had to cover a wide gamut. Didn't matter if they were punching, kicking, grabbing, trying to cut you, stick you with a spear, smack you with a long staff. Didn't matter. You didn't need multiple ways of doing things. But if I only learn a method that is based on fair fights, trading shots, and no weapons can ever come to bay or to bear, doesn't matter. Dojo, competitions, whatever. Out there, somebody breaks into your house, workplace violence, whatever. Okay. So I would rather train, this is me, right? My show, my opinion, right? I would rather train based on the original stuff, worst case scenarios, so that the modern stuff, okay, all I have to do is, I don't have to adapt my form and how I do things. I have to adapt my angles and my movement and positioning, not the way I move, where I move, okay? Because we're going from this to this, or these uppercuts or whatever. So I need to understand the nature of the attack so that I can make sure that I'm moving to the correct angles, opening him up, closing me off, that kind of stuff, and everything stays the same. But if he gets frustrated and pulls a freaking knife, my kamae are still based on, right? I simply go from hoko to hoko, or I use jumonji instead. Yeah, I can still get my arms cut, but all the muscles that are necessary for grabbing his ass or making a fist and punching him are on this side of my arm. And yes, I'll bleed over here, but not bleed to death like if I get cut over here. So in the art of kamae Ninjutsu, we need to understand how to pick our kamae so that they match what he's doing. Not match what he's doing so we can do what he's doing, match what he's doing so that the kamae we choose makes his preferences difficult. Okay? So, again, entering, catching, and then what? Okay? Delivering, executing. I like that word better. Okay? But that's just my nature. Executing, that kind of thing. So now what we're talking about daken or striking or atemi, striking, nage, throws, whatever. There's a whole bunch of things in here, but what's the technique that's being, what's being applied? Okay? So we've got to get in without him closing things off or popping us on the way, right? We have to catch him in a way that gets him stuck, and then we get free reign to do our technique, okay? So if we can break things down this way, then we can already start thinking about scenarios that'll match up, and that's where we go next, okay? So again, I almost forgot. This Friday's master class at the dojo is based on this stuff, right? And we're not doing everything, obviously, but we're going to be doing some techniques and some skills and things like that. We're going to pull from some of these areas. So, yeah, if you want to get in on that and you want to see some of those technique options and whatnot, then get yourself signed up. The classes are what, $9 US. Just basically covers my expenses. All the services that I pay for to make sure that we can do them, right? Virtually, or they're virtual via Zoom. Just sign in, and if the time doesn't work right, I get it. Some of you guys are, when it's 8 p.m. or 6 p.m. for us, it's 2 a.m. for you. I get it, right? So, or I've got a student in Israel that Friday doesn't work, man. After work, that's Shabbat, right? For the rest, a couple of days, right? So he, drops his coin and gets the recording so he doesn't miss the lessons. Okay, that's, if you can't do the ideal, you do as close as you can make it, right? Anyway, that's how I got here. Anyway, so let's take a look at some combat uses or some situations, scenarios, or whatever within kata. And I'm not going to name the kata, but there are certain things. I might pop a name every once in a while, but I'm not running through this whole freaking list. But they're either within kata or they're within lineage principles. And there might be a couple of examples in the scrolls, but it's up to the practitioner to create more, to go beyond the hints and examples, and the instructor to create things so the student doesn't just get stuck on a certain number, right? Well, there's this many number of kata in the Jōryaku no Maki of the Gyokoryu. Oh, fantastic. Okay. What do they teach? Not I'm learning or the teacher's teaching 23 kata. What do those 23 kata teach? Are they in packets? Do they all point back to a singular kata? Is there a singular principle that runs through them? Or is there packets that use the same principle, but the kata look different? If we don't know the answer to that, then we're just collecting moves. Or we come up with our own ideas, right? And hopefully they're right, right? So let's go back through these. I got my little arrows over here that I don't know, I bumped into the thing along the way, so they're kind of broken. So ukemi, defending, attacking, okay? So take a look at a couple of examples here. We'll shift my little camera here just a little bit. I think that'll work. Okay. move it a little bit closer here so that you guys can see the screen better. Maybe take a screenshot. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Headbutt you in the face. So anyway, all right. So from ukemi, right? Just doing it from an ukemi primary base. Okay. So first one is rolling isn't possible. Okay? When rolling isn't possible, what the hell does that mean? Right? Well, I'll give you a couple of examples. Right? What if I need to move from here to there? I need to escape this space. Okay? Knives coming in, baseball bats coming in, or whatever, and rolling would get me from here to there, right? Except there's broken glass on the ground. Well, you know, it won't kill you, Sensei. No, but if I can slow you down, because if some of that sticks in you and he nails that stuff, or you every time you get brushed up against it, it's going to cause things to change. So there's that. Or there's a freaking pothole, or there's something, there's a gap in there and there's some tarp laying over it. Or it might look like a puddle. Okay. Doesn't look that deep. Well, I'll roll through it. Okay. But what if it's not? What if it is deep? And then you get your ass wedged in there. Okay. So there's times when I need to traverse things. Or another one for this one, and this could fall into the defending, where he's applying a lock, a hold, throw, something like that, and the angle of the attack doesn't allow you to fold your body. It's causing your back to arch, right? And literally, physiologically, rolling's not possible. And if you try to do it, you'll snap whatever it is he has a hold of. I mean, if you're okay with that, then great. Let's see. Yeah, either way, right? The situation doesn't allow for rolling, okay? Next one is I'm navigating obstacles. Okay. It's a scenario where I'm being chased. Dude, I'm not running, okay? Nobody's going to be chasing me, okay? Okay, yeah, okay. So all situations will be even. I will always have the advantage. No. And even if I do have the advantage or I need the advantage, what if I cut and run? And then I'm running to an area where I know I can bottleneck them. I can do what the Spartans did, right? Where they bottlenecked the frickin' Persian army, allowed them to hold out for what, 3 days, give or take, right? Against thousands. And there were 300 of them. Okay. So, but I'm going to need to be able to leap over things, right? I might be shoved, or I might be moving away from somebody, and there's a low counter or whatever, okay? Yeah, but you can just dive roll over it. Dive roll, okay? Maybe. Or we've got a drill where it's not really a drill. It's a way to practice these things. So where it's a leap and a rolling recovery. It's not the same. The roll is the recover, but the action to remove you from the space is leaping, right? So what we'll do is we'll set up, if you know what a carpenter's sawhorse is, right? You've got this thing where it's like, in the States, we call it 2x4. I don't know what you guys call it, but either way, right? So we've got this sawhorse, right? And we'll put the student right here, okay? And what they're going to do is leap up, tabletop their body, okay? So if they leap up with a little bit of trajectory in this direction, pick up their legs and tabletop themselves, because there might be an overhang. Now, when we first do it with people, not an overhang, okay? But there might be an overhang, so I've got this small window of opportunity to pop through that, where he's got me cornered to where there's maybe just an opening in the wall, right? Broken out window frame, whatever, right? So I'm going to tabletop myself and come over, and then I can finish in a side roll, get back to my feet and keep on going, okay? So again, this is Happo Tobi, not executing a gymnastic maneuver for points so I can win the Olympics. Okay? You don't win anything in this except another day where you're upright and breathing. Okay? So is that, and then one more, just to quickly change distance. Right, I already covered that. Change. My writing sucks because this thing is just wobbling all over the place. Quickly change distance. Again, we move farther, faster by leaping or by rolling in the same distance. You cover that distance faster. Rolling, it works because you're like a tire, and so you have more contact with the surface. And with leaping, you're literally breaking from the surface and just laterally shifting to that position way faster than you do by walking and running. Okay, so very quickly changing the distance. Defending, okay? A couple of examples for defending, and again, that's what they are. They're examples, okay? So in this one, we're countering, not counting. I'm just going to abbreviate. Countering, locks, holds, throws. We're definitely doing something like this, the countering throws on Friday's master class. As a matter of fact, I just did that in the black belts class last night. So they're gonna revisit that. Except what we did was we were doing counters to that. So the uke, when we tried to do a ganseki or whatever, he leapt as the lock started to be applied. He leapt before it took it to a free position, and then we had to respond to counter that particular thing because it created a new position, and we went from being in charge and had the advantage to all of a sudden, oh shit, all of his weapons are came to bear, and bad things are going to happen. I don't know about the locks and holds. Quick story: I did something like that in Japan a bunch of years back. I was in one of Nagato Sensei's classes. And if you've ever gone to Japan, you know that they'll, Hatsumi Sensei, whatever, teachers, some teachers don't do it. They're there to demonstrate the techniques and teach stuff and all that. But in other teachers' classes, especially very high level things, right? They'll have another black belt or a high level, Shidoshi or above, come out and demonstrate something. And then that's what everybody's going to practice. And then what I learned was they never tell anybody what's a good technique or a bad technique. You're supposed to learn this for yourself. And so if the technique that's demonstrated is going to get you killed or get you broken or whatever, right? No matter how cool it looks, no matter how well it can be done at slow speed, if you barely get a minute or 5 to practice with you and your partner, and then you get called back and they call somebody else out to demonstrate something, and it's something completely different, that's a sign. Because if the technique is good, even if it's rough and raw around the edges, if it's a solid technique and the principles are right, the teacher will fix certain things and then take things to the next level and do variations. You can be working on that student's model or that black belt's model for 20 minutes, hour, whatever. It can just run on. So anyway, I got called out for this thing, and he just said, do something, right? So I had one of my students with me, and we pulled out a technique that we had done probably the week before back home. And so I kind of reached out to shove, and he caught my hand for an uragaku kind of thing. And what I had him do was grab it and very quickly, he didn't leap, but he very quickly stepped to the side really far and yanked that hand. So it wasn't one of these, it was straight across in space. And what I did was I just picked up my feet and let him carry me, right, to this new position. And then I did this little corkscrew maneuver under his arm and through him and whatever, okay? Anyway, but it was that initial, this is going to lock and it's not going to go well because the angle he's taking me on, I'm not going to be able to leap, break fall, or roll well on. And here's the thing about ukemi. You learn ukemi so you can learn what's possible and what's not in adapting your body to a certain attack. So when you get to the next level or the upper levels, everything gets reversed. So in the beginning, and this is the way the scrolls are laid out. In the beginning, God made, no, not that. When we're working on throws, ganseki, osotonage, whatever, or we're working on ichimonshokata, anything, right? The strike or the throw or the lock are applied in a way that your partner can take ukemi. You're both training, You're training to work the technique. They're training to, roll out, leap out, whatever. But at a certain point, you're training. As things get more combat oriented, right? Not that you can't use the earlier stuff if you have to defend yourself, but higher and higher levels. What if you're dealing with somebody who's just really fucking good at ukemi? No matter what you do to them, they can save themselves, right? Well, if I can't break their ukemi, not on the ground, but do my technique in a way that they can't take ukemi, then this fight's going to last for a long time. So we eventually get to a point where we take away their ability to take ukemi. The first way to do that is we make sure that as we're doing the technique, we understand where our technique is no longer necessary because he's going, right? And so since that's correct and our footwork is correct and our weight transition is right over one leg, let's say I'm doing a ganseki and he reaches out to roll, right? And I just go to Hicho and bring a knee up into his ribs. That breaks his form and he crashes and burns. Great. Okay. That's the intermediate level where I attack him during his attempt to take ukemi, right? So he could have saved himself, except I attacked when he can't defend, he can't counter, sounds like Sanshin again, right? Where the hell was it? Anyway, right? Oh, the catching, right? So there's that, and then we get to a point where we do the technique in a way that if he tries to do ukemi, if he tries to counter, he breaks himself. Okay? For us, that's it. The students going for 4th degree black belt, 4th degrees and above, should be able to do that. Japanese system, based on my discussions with Hasumi Sensei, based on the number system that Westerners came up with and the Japanese just conceded, and that's what they used. 11th, 12th dan, that kind of thing. Because 8th or 9th is equivalent to what I was taught as a second dan thing. But you have to remember, I came up through the ranks when the Bujinkan only had 5 dans. 5, not 10, not 15, 5. Okay? So certain things were required at a certain dan, and just because they added 5 more, because we had so many of these freaking ranks running around, well, how do we keep them around? Because a lot of these people, they're only going to stay if they keep getting ranked and keep feeling special about themselves. Okay? Truth is truth. Anyway, so if I can take it away from them, then he can't. And then I have to develop my skill even higher than that, because when my partner can't take ukemi, they will break, or that I will break them because they can't take ukemi. I have to be able to do things in a way where they break and I can save them before they crash and burn. Okay? Because what I was taught was being able to do the technique, combat version, is not the highest level. The highest level is being able to do that and then back gearing down at the moment where you're going to save that person. Okay? Because maybe it's drunk Uncle Bob at the family picnic, and they're not going to appreciate that you broke his damn neck, right? Or snapped his arm or whatever. Okay, and we practice that kind of thing on our partner. We always practice to have choice, not I'd rather be tried by 12 and carried by 6. Fuck you, man. Right? The person who says that doesn't understand trial science, and they understand how fucked they are as a trained martial artist in a court of law with a jury where no one is a cop, security specialist, military, or high-ranking martial arts or self-defense expert. They'll already be vetted away, right? So, but who the hell else can really say whether or not you overstepped that kind of stuff? Because the DA is going to paint your ass, or if you're being sued by the criminal who jumped you, right? His defense attorney, his attorney is going to paint a picture of you as somebody who would rather kick this guy in the eyeball or punch his throat in than say good morning to him. Now, if you don't understand that, then you don't understand why being tried by 12 might not be the better option. Not that you want to be carried by 6 either, but those dumbass cliche comments don't take real Budo into or especially Ninjutsu into consideration. Right? That's like that no fear bullshit bumper sticker, and then somebody else came out with fear this. Fuck you both. Right? Anyway, so let's see. Where am I? Defense. Are we on defense? Yeah. So countering locks, holds, or throws. Close range escaping. Okay. Close range escaping. So if you were in on the training last week where we looked at the Sanden Kamai of the Gyokoryu, we looked at Ichimonji no Kata, Hichi no Kata, and Jumonji no Kata as three different scenarios, three different situations where one's the ideal. Everything's working fine. I win. No problem. There's another one where there's there's a glitch. Everything's working fine. Then all of a sudden this guy goes in a different direction than I expected. I counter it, but I leave a huge opening that he can take advantage of, and I need to catch that quickly. I need to do something very, very quickly that stalls that, and then I can finish. So I still get to win, but there was a little glitch in the matrix midway. And then we looked at Jumonji as I'm already starting in kind of a weird friggin' position. So I'm either in the upper levels, I'm sending conflicting information to him, right? Am I guarded or am I not guarded? Because I'm square, my legs are open, but I got my arms up here in this weird X kind of position, right? Somebody's been watching too much X-Men, Marvel, superhero bullshit. Or, am I open? Am I not open, right? Or the other way to look at that, Jumonji no Kata from that position is you got caught, right? Caught his arm on one thing, came across to shuto this that was supposed to catch him and knock him off balance so I can pop him in the neck, right? And all of a sudden, I missed, and this is the new start position, and he's about to kick me in the nunnies or punch me in the throat or whatever, and I need to get back to the ideal and get back on track. But Jumonji no Kata also teaches you got back to the ideal, right? He was on center. You're not taking center. He's on center, and you, right? First lesson in Ichimonji no Kata is one move, take center. So he has to fight from the inside or try to get through your barricade, right? And so I get there and I come in to break his balance, and that didn't work. And so I need to throw up a distraction to stall him so I get out, right? So think about that same one, but if you've ever seen any of the demos or the video or the classes or anything like that, I'm gonna be posting more of those things, actual class things. My assistant, if you're in any of our online programs, Sensei Alexander James. I'm 5'6" and change. James is like 6'4", 6'5", something like that. He way outreaches me. Okay, so this and a step may not be what I need, right? If I can't get that up in time, I need to clear this. I need to get the hell out so I can reset the fight to 0 and I get a do-over. So I might need to leap back, right? The Togaku has a lot of these hit and run kind of things where I find myself at close range, or whatever I tried to do didn't work, or I did it and I go, okay? So close range escaping, right? I need to increase the distance very, very quickly, okay? And then the other one would be evading upper or lower body swinging attacks, like a bat to the legs or a leg sweep or something like that, or a quick on hook punch kind of thing. So in one case, right, and I know we can go to Hicho, but if this guy's swinging a pull cue, lifting one leg might not be enough. He might smash the base leg, whether he was aiming for that or not. So I need to clear that space, right? These drops, not a boxer's duck, because why pop quiz? Why do boxers get away with boxer ducks? What we call boxing ducks. Why do they get away with this? Because it's illegal in a boxing ring to knee somebody in the face. So that's never a part of boxing. But in a kickboxing match, somebody does a boxer duck, bing, right? So again, gotta be careful what we think about, right? It's because we will train the way we think. So we are going to drop under it, right? So it goes by, and then we have access to ribs or whatever, okay? And I like me some ribs. His barbecue, whatever. So we've got evading. We're just going to call them swinging attacks. Okay. You'll notice on that last one, I didn't traverse because it's shiho ten chi tobi. I might need to leap straight up. I might need to leap straight down. Okay. It's not just a duck. And a lot of students have a problem with this because in the beginning, when everything is slow, they just drop their hips to their feet. But I want gravity to help me at a certain point. So a downward leap, not jumping off of a ledge. We understand that too. Okay. But if I need to drop from here, I'm actually going to pull my knees up to lift my feet off the ground. So gravity pulls me down. Same time I pick up my feet, I'm going to drop. I'm not leaping up to go down. I simply take my feet out from under me and I drop faster. I drop as fast as I can possibly go because I don't need muscles for it. Gravity's going to drag my nary ass to the floor, right? I'm going to catch myself, but you get the idea, right? And then as an attack, so here we are back over for attacking, okay? And these will fit into different sections right here, okay? So first one I have, and again, I just popped some off the top of my head as I was throwing these notes together, as a surprise attack. As a surprise attack, okay? So in the Togakure school, there are these leaping, kicking maneuvers where you jump straight up. Like this guy's moving in and intimidating. He's about to get his hands on you. And you know this is not going to work well because this guy's bigger, faster, stronger, whatever, right? So we leap up and do a kick, right? Called a snap kick, ball of the foot kick, toe stab, whatever. However high you can go, you're going to leap up and either one foot is going to tag him or both feet are going to tag him. And then, yes, as you land, you're probably going to be falling backwards or to the side. So we kick, drop, and roll. Okay. I didn't say it was for beginners. However, it's a surprise because this guy's expecting everything from here, two-dimensionally, this way. Okay. But people only expect so much. That's why in Ninjutsu stealth techniques or tactics, we hide below somebody's eye line, and their peripheral vision picks up all this stuff. But when people are searching for things, there's very few people, and it's because they were caught by experience, very few people who will look up to look for things or they'll look down. They'll do that after they've exhausted everything else in this zone. So you want to hide from somebody so they walk past you and then you get above their eye line, below their eye line, because that'll be the last places that they look. Actually, last place they'll look is behind themselves because they were already there, right? Which is why we use all that shit against them. Okay, not just them. That's the way human brains are wired. Okay, so again, when we jump up quickly, it's just this boom, big jump up. It creates this stall, right? Because he's surprised, and then you kick him, which causes a different response. And while he's busy reeling from that, you're dropping and rolling and changing the distance, or saying "Tiny Tabi, don't fail me now," and doing aruku, right? Running your ass off. Okay. Next one, right? This is let's see, Kotoryu. If you're in Mod 3 in my program, or you're solo one-offing the Dominate and Win program, it's the same thing. It's our Mod 3. We just did some techniques like this where you're walking toward the attacker, and they're walking toward you, and the distance is closing, and their brain has already made the calculation as to where they need to be when they jack you first. And so off you're walking, all of a sudden that turns into a forward leap with a shitan ken to the face or something like that, right? So it's a walking to forward leap. It's an attack. Okay? Whether you can land that shot or not, the fact that you just suddenly change the distance causes them to be walking along, and then one of these things happens. Okay, so again, it's a change in things, right? It's an attack, okay, and that requires that we have Sanshin walking down, and this is the Mod 3 version of something we have in Mod 2. Mod 2 is walking to rolling. Whereas you're walking, you just keep bending your knees and walk yourself into the floor, roll, and then as you're coming out of the roll, you walk yourself back up to a standing straight leg position, right? So I know I keep saying right, like I'm just like it's an obvious thing. People keep calling me on like you keep saying right or you keep saying whatever. Well, okay, and you keep trolling the internet and slamming things that you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Not you, them. Anyway, all right. So and then the other one is attacking while escaping or countering. Okay, attacking while escaping or countering. Okay, I'll give you two examples of this. One is he might be coming in at me, and as the attack goes, I'm going to leap back into Ichimonji. And as I go, since my arm has to extend anyway, I'm going to pop him on the way out. Right, right. So everybody thinks about striking as they move in, but you can strike as you move out. Also, Kotoryu Churenomaki, there's a kata called kapi. And there's a couple of different ways you'll see it done if you look it up on the internet. The way I was taught to do it is this guy's coming in with an intimidation thing, and there's a very quick, it's not a big leap, it's just this quick move to the side, and I pop him on this side of the neck. And because I'm moving and it's a defensive, it's a kind of a attack of opportunity, right? It may drop him, but probably not, right? So I hit him, he recoils and comes back because where am I? I'm over here. So he comes back. From right here, I hit, and then as he's turning back, I leap to the other side and pop him on the other side of his neck. Okay? That's one way to do it. But again, it's using leaping to do it. Okay? So we're attacking, striking, whatever, while we're leaping. So I already covered ukemi, I covered defending, right? Bunch of different ways to attack while we're doing what we have, right? Some of these things are in the Togakure school, some are in the Koto, whatever. Okay, so anyway, that's what I have for today. We're just a little bit over. I apologize, but nobody ever say I don't give enough value. People may say that what I teach is not valuable for them, but as far as getting a lot for, would you pay for this class? Oh, 0. Okay, cool. Anyway, so. Yeah, so do me a favor this time and post a comment below, whatever platform you're on, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, and post a comment with like your biggest aha moment, right? If there was something that really jumped out at you from this training, or conversely, right? If something is still a little bit confusing, what's your biggest question, right? If you were going to use one of these things, right, to add it to your training to start making progress farther in this direction, right? What's the question you answered for that? Okay. If it's something that I can easily answer in that context, I will. I mean, either way, you're going to get an answer. But if it requires like a video or an extra lesson or whatever, I'll let you know that here's a quick description for it. But in an upcoming class here at the dojo, I'll just make sure that I do that, and then I'll clip it out and send it to you. Okay, pretty simple. Okay, that aside, again, this is all strategy and tactics, right? If you want to see the actual taiden, how it actually manifests, then get yourself signed up for this Friday virtual training. Let me shift this so that, there you go. Now you don't have that bad contrast, okay? So that's what I have, right? And then again, it's just if you're looking for someone to help you go beyond the taiden, just the physical techniques of the art, right, to the level of strategic and tactical control, why not schedule a call with me, right? I do complimentary coaching calls on a regular basis. And so if you want to do that, just send an email to me. You can send that to Warrior C. Make it big here for you. Let's see. You can send it to Warrior C at, right? That's all one string. Warrior C at Warrior. We already know how to spell that. Hyphen concepts hyphen online.com. Okay, cool. All right, that's what I have for today. Hopefully this was valuable. If not, I don't know why the hell you stayed unless you're avoiding work, which is a possibility for a lot of people. But anyway, hopefully I'll see you for the Friday class, or fall camp is coming up here November 8th to the 10th. We're live here at the Academy, but we also have a virtual version, right? And for those who, neither of those is an option, here in about a week or so, I will be posting up the order form that folks can order the camp recordings. Please don't be one of the numbnuts that, this happened last year, ordered the video or the video recordings for camp, which was still 3 weeks away. 2 days after they ordered the videos, they sent me a flaming email wanting to know when the hell they could watch the videos for a camp that didn't even happen yet. I'm not sure what part of pre-order got missed, but once we very politely, and it was very politely, reminded them that it didn't happen yet, you'd get it the week after. We never heard anything back from them. Not a thank you, not an I'm sorry, not a, okay. And maybe we'll do a Whiteboard Wednesday sometime on the first line of self-defense, which is implied in Japanese martial arts because they already know it from childhood. And that's respect. You don't give anybody a reason to want to punch your fucking throat because you're an asshole. Then you only ever have to use these skills against somebody who's going to attack you no matter how nice you are, because it's about them, not about you. But let's not forget that just because we didn't throw the first punch, if we're a douche and cause somebody to want to jack us, we started the fight. Because some people didn't learn how to be nice. And if we're an ass long enough to the right people, well, we just may push them past nice. So that'll be for another lesson, or I'll just cut this one out, and this little snippet, and post it up, and we'll see where things go. And when I say you, I'm speaking generally across. So if the pudding stuck, then I guess it was you. But I don't mean you. I mean anybody that they know. We know that it's us. We know when we're wrong. We just run around trying to convince everybody else that, you know, they were wrong. Anyway, so let's get back on this. Tobijutsu, combat leaping, whole bunch of shit. Hopefully it served you. If not, I apologize. Unfollow, unsubscribe. All right, that's it. I'll see you next time.